Good evening, everyone. We are finally back with another discussion of Twin Peaks The Return. We are not quite halfway through, but we are almost to the part where you are either all in or you check out. We're almost there, but there's a lot of fun things in this episode, particularly for me in part 7. I want Frank Truman's desk with the little computer coming out of the.
I adore that sequence so much that it's such good wood, man. It really is. Like even the little monitor as it comes up is surrounded in wood. It's
And that is peak old man typing, like I've
dude,
seen my dad on the computer, just like
yes,
that.
it is hunt and peck. It's great. It's the single finger. It's wonderful. I just say IKEA, get on it. I need that desk. You know what I'm saying? Like I'd use that for work. That desk is amazing.
This episode, I think the word is like just the word is plot. Like there's just so much moving forward. The story in Twin Peaks, in Vegas, in South Dakota, like all of the like stories are really chugging along here. You pull in stuff from the original series,
Fire Walk with Me,
and from the so there's a lot of story.
And we've talked about, that this season really, I love the fact that Lynch was able to make Fire Walk with Me so important in this season. Like for those who didn't like it when it came out, and we've talked about that, many a time when we did our review on the film and other times, before and after. But I love that it becomes genuinely an integral part of the world of Twin Peaks, of the mythos in this season. And this, of course, we get the reference to the good Dale is trapped in the lodge, the dream sequence that she has, that Laura has in Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. So it's neat to see, again, all those little pieces of Fire Walk with Me coming in. And that's why when we get to episode 8, why that episode left me so gobsmacked is because there are so many things they talk about in Fire Walk with Me and so many things in the original series that finally show up. And it was like, that's why 8 is my favorite episode of the whole thing. But this episode is such a great episode because exactly what you said, Colin. Everything is moving. There's no time to stop. It's just consistently, payoff after payoff after payoff as far as getting everything rolling, keeping things moving. It's just it continues to hook you in and pull you along, man. And it does it effortlessly. It's such a great episode, and it just goes to remind you of, again, the wonderful performances, the wonderful writing, the wonderful atmosphere. It's just all in this episode. I mean, like, if I don't take part 8 as my favorite episode, this is probably the one I'd pick right underneath it, honestly, because it is such a great episode. There is so much going on. As I've said many times, the Las Vegas section of this season is my favorite stuff in this season. And we get some great stuff in Vegas in this episode. So yeah, man, it's all killer, no filler.
Do we want to start there? Do we want to start in Vegas and the what's going on there?
I'll go with the flow, man.
Let's start with so we got Tom Sizemore sweating bullets over there because he knows there's something in those files they're gonna find, but of course Dougie's not Dougie, and he's just over there in his own little world, not saying anything.
Yes, taking his coffee for that matter.
And then we get the, I don't know if they're incompetent cops, but I would say they're the Vegas's brightest.
That's fair. I won't say they're just as much over incompetent, but they're great characters. They really are. They're really great. Everybody in Vegas is so great, though. Like it's so good. We get the we get to see Ike the Spike once again and his crazy little theme music and stuff. The fact that we have Ike the Spike in this season is just amazing. He's like the Boba Fett of this series because he's like that hired gun. You don't know much about him. He's not in it as much as you'd like him to be in it, but he's great. He is.
That also shows that Cooper's in there because those instincts come right out when the threat's there.
And that's what I keep saying. Like when I go back and watch this is like, everything with Dougie is like, we keep waiting for Cooper. We keep saying we're waiting for Cooper, but he's there the whole time. And for me, like we've talked about, like the distilled goodness of Agent Dale Cooper is Dougie. And again, the instincts definitely come into play when Ike shows up with the gun, and Coop, I mean, Dougie Coop puts him in his place, man. Like, it even removes some skin. You know what I mean? Like,
he doesn't do it all by himself, though. Janie E gets right in there.
Dude, okay. We all have to give mad props to Janie E, because that woman is fearless. Yeah, like, she is absolutely fearless.
Her purse would be, here she comes with the chair.
Yeah. Yep. I know.
Janie is magical, dude. Janie E. Yeah. If someone tells me that she's their favorite character of The Return, I totally get it. Like, sure. I got nothing to say like you're wrong or not. She's great. I mean, like, Naomi Watts this is some of the best work she's done. And she's fantabulous every time she's on screen. Every time.
First she comes in and deals with the cops and deals with that whole situation.
Just like she put those gangsters.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just a repeat of that, man. She's just done with everyone's bullshit. Yeah. Let's just be honest. Like, Janie E is just done.
Yeah. And then once he gets attacked, like, it's not like, yes, like, you're right, Cooper does show up. He takes this, he deals with the threat. But Janie doesn't back off for a second. No. She's right on this guy. She's pulling at him from behind. She's yelling, and then once they're safe, she like makes sure that Dougie's okay. Like, she takes care of everything.
She does.
Like, yeah. I had forgotten that scene, and it was sort of came out, and it sort of surprised me again, because it was one of those scenes that just got lost in all of the stuff that was going on.
There's so much. There's so much.
But it's such a great part of the scene, and also part of the show, I mean, and I was glad to be reminded of it, and just it's comical, but it's also it informs the characters, and was just a fun scene to be able to sort of almost end the episode with.
Yeah, it's right there towards the end, and it definitely was one of those, like, when it happened, I remember being like, just like, oh my god, like, that was excellent. And of course, you even get the little reference to the lodge, because you've got the little the evolution of the arm, like saying, like, like, grab the hand, like, like, grab the gun, whatever. And then man, it's so ridiculous. Like, he doesn't just get the gun out of his hand. He takes off part of his palm, dude. Like, it is a grotesque moment. It's so subtle, because it's not like blood gushing all over the place, but when you see it, you're like, oh.
So interesting about that. Like, any theories on why we're seeing the evolution of the arm? When he was in the casinos, he was getting lodge visions, but it was, different characters, different.
I think the lodge. I think there are certain laws that apply there, and the whole thing of the 25 years. I feel like the lodge and its inhabitants are real sticklers on that shit, right? Like, I feel like they're trying to help Dougie, because they're trying to right the balance and get evil Cooper back where he belongs, and get Agent Cooper, good Cooper, out where he should be. And I kind of feel like that's how I've always interpreted it. Like, they are trying to restore the balance, basically. Like, they're basically, evil Coop has bigger plans. And of course, we're getting into other stuff with Judy and things like that. And I just feel like the inhabitants there in the Red Room, I feel like they are just trying to establish balance. That's what it's always kind of been to me, that they're helping him because they know if they can help him achieve his goals and get through, basically finish his mission, then right and wrong will get, reshifted, and everything will be back into a state of balance. That's how I've always interpreted. Obviously, it's open to anyone's thoughts, but that, for me, every time I've watched it, that's the takeaway that I've had, is that they're not that they're like friendly, per se, but then again, they've spent 25 years with Agent Cooper. They might think of him as kind of a pal or a chum. I don't know. They could kind of consider him one of their own. But then again, of course, time really doesn't mean anything in that place. So I don't know. But I've always felt, to me, it was just a riding the ship, basically, is what it's always felt like to me.
I think that makes sense. I also think that, if someone's going to give advice on how to take somebody out, or like, they bring different skill sets, right? So we're getting from, the person who's going to help him in a moment when he's being attacked might be the entity that helps him might be different than the one that points him to the winning,
Sure.
slot machines, right?
And we see Mike so much in this season as well, so we get him. And again, Mike was not necessarily like a bad guy in the original series either. He was just kind of helpful, and he was just kind of like there in some ways, right? I mean, he's there, of course, the night of Laura's murder, but he is really, and again, maybe some of it is where they didn't have Michael J. Anderson come back to be the man from another place, but Mike really picks up the slack there, and he's very interactive with Cooper throughout this season. And to me, like, I always kind of thought that when you see the slot machine things, I always felt that was Mike. Like, we don't see him, but I've always felt like that was Mike. Now, the attack sequence is obviously the evolution of the arm, because he shows up. I mean, he's actually there coming up out of the ground saying, get the gun. But everything else I've always felt was more Mike. That's just always been my thoughts.
Right. I was thinking about the last time we saw the man from the other place, like in the series, in the outside of the Red Room, like when he was dancing on the bed in the hotel, and they were talking about Bob slipping through due to the fear, those emotions. And so I was thinking again, well, if we're seeing him bleed through into this reality now in his new evolved form, maybe it has to do with, again, because there's fear, there's
sure.
There's concern, like, because as much as they were fighting back, I mean, there's they probably had those kind of emotions, right?
Well, and we also know too, like, violence begets pain, and we know that Garmin Bozia is pain and suffering. Right. So there could even be an ulterior motive there of, like, you're helping us get our mojo, you're helping us get our Garmin Bozia by doing this too. So that in that moment, that really could be something to think about. I just literally thought of that as we were just talking about it, but it definitely could be that kind of there's always an ulterior motive, I would think, with some of those inhabitants. I don't think any of them were doing it just for the sheer wanting to help. There's got to be ulterior motives.
Right.
No, and I think it's like you said, they're these ominous beings that are in this place that lives outside of time and reality. Yes. And they're probably very much like, we have to keep things balanced. We have to keep
like I said, I figure they have their own... They got to have their own rules. You know what I mean? Like, there's rules within everything. Like, why Cooper couldn't leave for 25 years. That was a rule in that situation. So there's got to be the flip side of that. The person who was out, there has to be that restoration. So that to me is what I've always taken that to be.
Yeah, and if helping him get out is the way to get evil Coop back in, then they're going to assist where they can.
Yep. That to me is what the vibe I've always gotten. But, it's definitely one of those things too. Like, we still don't fully understand the Red Room. Is it the Black Lodge? Is it parts of the Black Lodge? Is it still that, we've talked about it being that sort of
purgatory,
the limbo between the White Lodge and the Black Lodge. Like, we truly still don't know.
Waiting room.
What we're looking at. It very much has waiting room vibes. It does. It reminds me of the waiting rooms in Beetlejuice, if I'm honest. Like, it's got that kind of vibe. Like, it really does. That kind of vibe.
Well, and Monica Bellucci, so there's the connection. No.
There you go.
There is. Now we got it with Beetlejuice. Yeah, sure do. That's it. It's all cyclical.
From the Beetlejuice sequel, just being in the background in that Red Room, cleaning it.
Speaking of cleaning, this is the episode with the sweeping scene.
Yes.
Yeah, and a familiar face saying the Renaults have ran the Roadhouse for 57 years.
Yeah, so the interesting that in an episode that is so plot heavy, we still have this moment.
It's still Twin Peaks.
No plot.
It looks like they're still up to their shenanigans of illegal activity.
Yes. Yeah. Sounds like involving younger women. So it's just kind of like
trafficking, a little bit.
Trafficking going on there on the border, which is completely in line with those assholes. It really is. Yeah. But it's always great to see, Walter, and I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, Okulun, so I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's always great to see him like in stuff. Like, it really is. Like, it's one of those funny things. Like, I've discovered things that he's done before he was in Twin Peaks, and it's like he's not Canadian or French Canadian. Right. He's not that at all. And so it's always weird when I see him in something where he's not speaking with that wonderfully fantastic cartoonish, French accent. But I always love seeing him. Like, he's one of those characters that, as despicable as he is, he's still an interesting character in the world of Twin Peaks. So I'm always happy to see that actor when he gets a chance to be in anything. And unfortunately, I believe he's passed since. But he was always really great in anytime he's on screen. So even with green onions and so much sweeping, he still gets to be there. I'm sure it was very much one of those wonderful things where David Lynch was so happy to be able to get him back for one more thing, just still have him involved in Twin Peaks in some way. So that's just but it's one of those moments. Like I love the fact that he gets to do it again. You know what I mean? Like he gets to return to Twin Peaks, and it's just one of those neat little moments. It's a vibe that scene. It's just a vibe.
Yeah, for sure. I like that too, that he gets to like it also just connects us to that family, right? Which has an impact in the original series. The fact that he's playing a different brother is great, I think, because enough time has passed that he can just look like a similar looking sibling who still is alive and is around to deal with that, and is still involved in, like you said, all of the criminal activity that
that apple didn't fall far from the tree.
Right. Right.
It really didn't. But I love that scene because it's just like David Lynch just saying, hey, you know what? I got all this money from Showtime. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a 5-minute sweeping sequence. You know why? Because I can. Like, it's just great. It's just great. Like, I love Green Onions anyway. It's a great tune. It's always awesome to hear it pop up. And there's just something about it. And God, that floor is filthy. Like, Jesus.
But you know what's interesting?
Why he's sweeping so much.
You know what's interesting about it? Because I remember watching it the first time, and you're just waiting for something to happen, right? Like you're watching it, okay, something's going to be happening.
Something's about to drop,
and you're waiting, and then the next time you see it, you're like, okay, so I know nothing happens, so now I'm just going to like appreciate it. And it's interesting how not boring it is.
No, it's
like
true.
I found myself engaged watching it. This time, and I think this is my third watch through of most episodes. So there's been a couple that I've watched a few more times than that.
I'm on my third as well, and for me, like there is like I just like I said, that scene is just a vibe, and I think at this point, like you said, the first time you watch it, you're waiting for something to happen.
Yeah,
like it's too calm, like something's got to happen, right? And then it doesn't. And so like now when I watch it, it's almost comical to me. Like it really is. Like it's just like it's almost like as someone described the Sideshow Bob rake sketch in The Simpsons, when Sideshow Bob gets from underneath the car, and for no reason there's all these rakes on the ground, and he just keeps stepping into one and it hits him. Like it's funny, and then it's like not funny, and then it's like the funniest thing you've ever seen, and it's almost like how that scene plays out to me. Like I just feel like, oh God, it's the sweeping scene. And then I'm like,
it goes too far, and then once it's even farther, then it starts to connect again. Yes,
it's great. It just works. It really does. It works in that same pattern, and it's just one of those moments that now, like you would think, oh, am I going to fast forward? No, I just watch it. It's great. Just embrace it. It's just Lynch being Lynch. It's just letting you be a fly on the wall. Like it's just normal everyday shit in that bar. You know what I mean? Like when the bar is not being a bar, this is what it is. And it's one of the few times that we're in the bar that it's not like jam-packed with people and there's no music playing other than in this case, just something on the jukebox. It's not like a live band. So it's just one of those neat moments where like, it's one of the few times like in the entire history of Twin Peaks that we've been in that bar that it's not been like packed with people and we're not there on a nighttime situation. So it's almost kind of like, behind the scenes, it's a pretty boring place to be. and that's real. You know what I mean? Like that's just real. I just dig it.
I was gonna highlight this episode's also heavy with its soundtrack of this baby boomer nostalgia for that 50s or early 60s.
I mean, that's Lynch. Rock. That's all him, dude. That's all Lynch. It really is. It's just he has that he loves that era. That's when he grew up. That's his music, and I love that he continues to pepper it in, where he can. It's just again, there's a lot of David Lynch in this episode. To me,
there's a lot of Twin Peaks in this episode. For people complaining about it not being in Twin Peaks.
Right.
This episode we actually get a lot. That's one of the scenes, but it starts out with Jerry and that great phone call. I think I'm high. There's like but
he's not in it a lot, but every time Jerry is in this season, it's great.
It starts and ends is where I was going with this. It starts and ends in Twin Peaks this episode.
Yeah, it does.
And
it does.
There's a lot of this series, this third season, that is not in Twin Peaks. And so this episode, though, you can't say that about. The diversions are smaller, and a lot is going on in Twin Peaks, right?
I think for me, like, one of the best things about this episode, though, is getting to see Doc Hayward again. Like, it's the last time we'll get to see him, because that's Mark Frost's father, you know, and it's the last time we get to see him in that part. But it's so wonderful
between him and
it is
Robert Forster.
It is.
Yeah,
and it's for Robert Forster to have not been in the original series. It really is a tribute to what a great actor he was. Just how he fits in so perfectly, so seamlessly into everything Twin Peaks. And, you know, granted, I mean, he'd worked with Lynch before in Mulholland Drive, but I love the fact that he gets to be in one scene, but he gets to be an inhabitant, you know, of Twin Peaks in this season. And he fits in so effortlessly. Like, he absolutely makes sense. And he would absolutely be Harry's brother. And he would absolutely be cool with everything going on in that place, because he's just that guy. His desk, like we've already talked about it, that desk is magical. It's awesome. The fact that it's a fucking Skype call is just even better. Like, it's just so much great stuff happening. It is the ultimate boomer tech. It really is. It's so great. But I just love that he has that. Like, it's just who installed it? Who made it? I don't know. But I love that it exists. Like, it's so great. But everything that we do get in Twin Peaks in this episode is great. I love Frank. I mean, I really do. I miss Harry. Don't get me wrong. I wish that Michael Onking could have been in this, but if we couldn't get Harry, Frank's wonderful. Like, he really is. The episode we talked about with Wally Brando. I mean, just like, this is the most normal conversation reaction that he had. All the ridiculous shit that Wally Brando is saying. It's so perfect. And he just really, in that moment, he really endeared himself to me with this season. But in this episode, that conversation between him and Doc is just, it's great, man. It's one of those moments where, you know, the things that we love about the original show really come through in that moment. It's such a charming moment. It's, you know, I still, you know, when I see Doc pop up, I do get a little teary-eyed, because I know it is the last thing he got to do before he passed. And I love that Mark Frost was able to get him to be in this season, like just for one scene, he was able to get him in there. And it's, you know, we all love Doc, you know, in the original series, and it was just a really nice way to give him one final.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I still think, like, when on this past rewatch that we all did together of the original two seasons, I really saw those, like, you know, the dichotomy that the original series created with the father-daughter relationships, you know, with Leland and Laura, with Ben and Audrey, and with Donna and Doc Hayward, and they were the, you know, the shining example, right? They were the beautiful, like, and so it was nice that he gets to have a moment before he, you know, and be recognized and remembered in this series as well.
It's really powerful.
Allusions to what we're going to find out later about certain things that happen.
I know. Again, like, these scenes aren't just there to throw into. No. Like, it's moving the plot forward. We're getting information about Audrey. We're getting information about Cooper. So everyone complained about Fire Walk with Me not answering the, you know, where's Annie question, and all of that, sort of what's happened to Cooper post this. And now we're getting those pieces, little bits of those pieces. That
we know Audrey survived the bank explosion.
Yeah, we talked about the bank explosion. We recognize it. Like, that was another thing. Nobody, whatever happened to the bank explosion, and we're getting pieces of that. We get the other scene that Frank is in is with Hawk, and we get references to both. I mean, technically, it's tying in season 2 and Fire Walk with Me, because it's tying in those scenes of Leland coming in the original series, coming into the police station, being investigated, being questioned, but also and you know, the Fire Walk with Me with pages being ripped out, the reference to the dream that she has with Annie, like, that was great, because it really feels like it's pulling everything in, and was very much a way of him saying, okay, I didn't give you this in Fire Walk with Me, but here we go. We're getting into some of that stuff.
And I love that they were able to use. They were able to finally use the deleted footage of what happened to Cooper after he hits his head into the mirror. You know, where we see the toothpaste circle, and they're like, it just struck me as funny, when they're putting him into his bed. And like we finally got to see that get used, which is really, really great. I love that finally got to have its moment. And I love that, this is where we start figuring out that we know what was going on with Cooper. Of course, they did not at the time, but now we hear that Cooper was in the room where Audrey was in the hospital, and it's just like, oh, that's that's not good. That's not good at all. And of course, we know there's going to be a payoff to that when we find out revelations about who certain people are in this cast. But that really is like, it's great that, like you said, we get this wonderful moment with Doc Hayward, but it does still continue to move the story forward. It's not like it's just, hey, let's just have this moment. He gets to actually give us information that we needed to find out what's going on, what happened back then, and what's going on now. Like, it's really, really good stuff. Anytime we get to see Hawk, it's always great in this season.
Well, we've talked a lot so far about Hawk actually being getting to do a lot of the work and showing what a great detective he is, and we get more of that here, right? Like he's showing off showing off isn't the right word, but he's demonstrating the results of his of the work that he's done. And again, it's so that we can make those connections, so that we can start to see about they talk about Laura and the murder a lot in this episode compared to most of the rest of the series, because there's also the moment with Ben and I'm forgetting Ashley Judd's character's name, but he mentioned
Beverly. He mentions Beverly of the key when they're in his office hearing that ringing.
And she says, "Who is Laura Palmer?" I thought that was such an interesting moment. It struck me more than I think it did before, because it implies a few things. Like, I don't know how long Beverly has been in Twin Peaks, but the fact that she has no idea shows that the town has in some ways
moved on,
probably evolved, moved on. Exactly. That's right. That she has, who's Laura Palmer? Which is like such an interesting question in a show that, as the fans, we like, that's what we're obsessed with, right?
Right. All of it hangs on Laura Palmer, right? Like, it really does. Exactly. And so no, it is one of those things when you have someone ask that question, because everybody, you would think that's one of those stories that would just be like almost like an urban legend, like people will still be talking about it in some way, but it's almost like it's just been lost to time,
Well, and I wonder too, because so much of, and we haven't seen it all yet, but so much of the series, they're like, as we talked about before, the Roadhouse is this like hopping place now that has these huge crowds in it, and we're going to see more of, and we get the scene at the end of this, which I want to talk about a little bit later too, but with the Double R just like being packed full of people,
man.
We see scenes in the town later that I do seem to imply that the town has like grown maybe into a different kind of town than it was 25 years ago, which 100% it like feels real and should be, right? Like it would be weird if it was all just exactly the same.
No,
it's either going to be the kind of town that continues to grow and thrive or moves in different directions, or it's going to be the town that everybody starts moving away from and starts to die, right?
Hence why I feel like that whole thing about this season is you can't go home again, because the Twin Peaks you want to return to is not there anymore. That's right. It's evolved. It's grown. Like, it's not the same place. The same locations are there, yes, but they're not what they used to be. It's almost like they are the commercialized versions of what they were. Like, everybody heard about this cool little place called the Double R, and now it's like got franchises.
Yeah, we're going to see more of that.
And most of those people are probably not from Twin Peaks. There's a lot of probably touristy shit. You think about the Roadhouse back in the day, it was like a really seedy place, like only really bad people.
It'd be like 15 people in there or something.
Right. And now it's like jam-packed with like local bands and like, traveling musicians and it's just a whole different vibe. It's like it's commercialized. And again, it's almost like a commentary on what we do with these things. Like it's true. So many, like, how many cities like started off like just being kind of, think about like what is it's just completely left me, Robert Redford's film festival every year,
Park City, Utah, which I hear isn't it going somewhere else next?
But think about what it did to Park City, right? Like, that was a small little place, and now it's this hyper commercialized thing, right? Like, it's not the same place anymore, and it almost feels like that's kind of happened to Twin Peaks in this season. Like, it really does. Like, we know that the Double R is a franchise, so obviously it has expanded, But the Roadhouse feels nothing like the Roadhouse that we were used to at all.
Well,
like
the police force is expanded.
They actually have a police force. Like it's an actual force. It's not just 3 people.
The trailer parks in town now.
Yeah,
are close to town.
Right.
Wasn't it in another town in Firewalk?
Yeah, it was out where it's in Deer Lick, where the original Teresa Banks.
Deer Meadow, yeah,
that's where she lived. Or Deer Meadow, yeah, that's where she lived. Yeah.
So yeah,
definitely.
That's right. So it's really, like I said, I didn't notice it the first time, but hearing her ask who is Laura Palmer really struck me this time. And then it's also, of course, they're listening to this hum, which is going to play into like the big climax of this series here. But so there's little hints of that going on too, and then we get a little bit of her backstory, which is interesting. Is very tragic. It's like I said, there's a lot going on in Twin Peaks, and it's all informing. Not only is it little character moments like all of those things that we've talked about, but they're also advancing the story. They're also giving us backstory. They're also really contextualizing everything. So whether it's the sweeping or the humming or whatever, it's contextualizing everything and tying us back into the rest. Like it feels like this one connects this season more to the rest of the big greater Twin Peaks.
Yes,
through the diary pages. Through seeing Jean Reno again. Well, he's not Jean Reno. He's whatever Reno. I can't remember which one this one is. One of the Reno brothers. Seeing him against, the key getting delivered back to the Great Northern. Like all of these moments tying us back into moments from other parts of the story. I just thought was really interesting to see this linchpin feeling episode. Linchpin, no pun intended.
No pun intended. Yeah. But for me, though, I think one of the neat things about the scene with Ben and Beverly is that Beverly definitely kind of puts forth an energy like she could be sort of interested in Ben. And I really appreciate that Ben has continued to grow and doesn't go down that path. Like it's like the invitation's kind of there, but he doesn't fully commit like Ben back in the day would have. Like, but now it's like he even feels like kind of there's like a hesitancy, there's a guilt, and that's like a big deal for Ben. Like it really is. Like, so it's nice to see that he's continued to sort of grow, which is a big deal,
which is probably what's going on over there when she gets home with her husband, who of course I guess is on disability of some sort because he has an illness or is disability of some sort, and he doesn't. I mean,
he's terminally ill, if you know that. Yeah.
But there is a lot of tension and history there.
Yeah.
And it's great. She's this little character who comes in and, plays an important function, but doesn't have like a ton of screen time. But yet we still feel like the show gives her some backstory. Like we learn about her, we get a little bit more to understand more about who she is. Like very impressive sort of use of, I don't want to say she's not a background character, but these sort of side characters.
Side character be the way to put it. No, she's not a background character. She actually helps with some moments here. And we haven't even gotten to the fact that this episode we find out more about the fingerprints for
another reconnecting, like connecting us back into, we got Major Briggs, like, so this
the Briggs fingerprints.
This part doesn't happen in Twin Peaks.
Time and stuff.
So we're done with the Twin Peaks section. I will say I didn't realize Billy has mentioned this early in the show.
Before we move on from Twin Peaks, like that last scene is interesting for a few reasons. And again, the first time I didn't really notice. But of course, the whole reference to Billy, which I think it's interesting that there's this obsession with Billy, especially when we come to, I don't want to say understand, because I don't know if I do understand what's going on with Audrey, but start to have thoughts and feelings and ideas about what might be going on for Audrey. The whole Billy reference is interesting because we hear him talked about in the Roadhouse. We hear him, but this, we hear this mention of him, very brief. Shelley does this like double take thing when someone comes in asking for him. But then you notice now that as we move around the double R, the people change.
Yes. There's like a time skip.
Yeah, it's a time skip, or it's a different, or is it a version of reality skip, or
I don't know.
Like who knows, right? Like it's so subtle,
but it's a subtle thing, and it's like the first time you see it, you almost like, did I see that? Like, and you're like, nah, that can't be the case. And then you go back and look at it, and it very much is there. There's little moments like that throughout this season.
Heidi jumps around the like
one of the ones that always stood out to me, like when I first saw it, when early into the stuff with in Buckhorn, you know, when Evil Cooper shows up at night to kill the lady in the house, right? When he shoots her in the back, if you look, when he shoots her, there is like a little jitter. It's a really subtle little thing. But when I first saw it, I was like, did I see that, or is my streaming like messing up? Like, it's not really the case, but it's true. There are all kinds of little things. There's one later on that we'll talk about as well. And it's a reflection. If you notice it, it's there. And if you don't, that's fine, but it's there. So there's all these little odd little time skips and little jumps like that. So it's like, is that maybe where, you know, is it related to the Lodge? I don't know. Cause we know that Twin Peaks has a lot of weird energy.
Is it related to Cooper fucking with reality?
It could be. Is it Judy? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of different ways it can go. And maybe we'll figure it out more as we go through this with each other. You know, it could very well happen.
Investigating the murder. In Twin Peaks, looks like.
Yeah, the hit and run.
Yeah.
We know where that's going to lead. So
and that, you know, that guy doesn't show up. That's an interesting, you know, why he can't talk about it right now and why he has to meet him later and then doesn't show up. And there's just, a lot of, again, it feels more like that, like there's so much mystery and investigation going on in this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery, that's for sure. You know, like I said, going into Buckhorn, we get the fingerprints for Major Briggs, and we find out that they don't match. The body is like someone in their 40s. He should have been in his 70s. Like it's that weird timey-wimey stuff, man. It continues to be a problematic thing in whatever's going on here. So again, like there are different powers at play. And of course we know we'll see eventually down the road, like what all's happened, like where is his head and who was involved. Like we'll find out more about that as we get into it. But I do love that, again, it's like we're getting answers, but there's still so much setup for what's to come. So it's like they're giving us answers, but at the same time, they're stringing us along still in a positive way, that there are still so many things we're waiting for those answers to come. And we'll get them obviously later on down the road. But I love the fact that we get that here. We get this stuff going on, which is really cool. And then also we have with this episode, and I'm going through like the note things here.
There wasn't. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say before
go for it.
I was just going to say the fingerprints, because there's the other fingerprints too. There is Cooper's and how there's a reversal. That's right. Exactly. So it was interesting that there was two themes of fingerprints going on in the same episode too, which I imagine is not coincidental.
And I love the fact that Cooper's are backwards, like they're reversed. Like it's a subtle thing, man, but it's great. Like it's a really great little detail. But this episode, of course, we get to see Diane.
Yes,
and we get to see
one of the central pieces of this very packed episode.
And it is a fucking moment.
A lot of lock there, but some great comedy when Gordon and Miguel Ferrer's character.
Oh, Albert,
Albert go to her apartment. He's like, "This is more personal than I got." She's like, "F you too, Albert."
And I don't have any cigarettes either. There's so many. I love that she's got a little boy toy there that's just making his way out as they're coming in. Like so we got our introduction to Diane, and now we get to really meet her, right?
Yes.
She has been this legend for so long. She has
been this ethereal
character that did she even exist kind of discussions going on.
Referred to, never called as a tape recorder.
Exactly. A lot of people thought that was the name of the tape recorder. No joke. That was something for the longest time a lot of people thought.
Yeah. And so now we finally get to meet her, and she is okay. So I personally, I think this is, I would argue that this is the best performance in the entire show.
I can't say that you're wrong. The depths that she goes in this series.
Laura Dern
and it really kind of feels like only Laura Dern could have done this role.
Right.
Like there are wonderful actresses out there.
There could have been nobody else to be this character.
That's how I feel too.
Especially within the history of Lynch's people he works with. He likes to work with the same.
But it's not even that. There is something that Laura Dern continues to bring. She's one of those actresses that just ages like a fine wine. And I'm not talking about it from a physical standpoint, which she definitely does, but as a performer. Like she just gets better and better and better and better. She's always been great. So you'd almost think, where would she have to go? Well, she keeps finding places to go. Right. And this is, I could argue, this is the best work she's ever done this season. Because it really goes deep, because we'll find out, obviously, there are things that happen between her and Cooper, and unfortunately things that happen with her and Evil Coop. Yeah. And that stuff gets heavy. It really does. It does. And it takes someone
bringing it even in these scenes before we know
when she sees him for the first time, man, like her eyes tell you everything. Like it's stunning work, man.
This came at a time in her career when she was really just bursting into this renaissance for her, where she had a whole bunch of great roles, this being one of them. She got an Oscar nomination that year for a film as well. Like, she was really on a high note. And I mean, she still is. I think she's still having a great career. Like, it's sort of continued into now. But she, she was really, I think, at a high point here, and I do think this is just some of my favorite that she's ever done, and one of my favorite roles in this, if not my favorite role in this whole series. I mean, there's a few that I could argue, but this one is one of them up there.
I think the work she does here, I mean, like I said, I don't know who else you would have put in the role. I really don't, because everybody feels so perfect where they're at. Could Naomi Watts have been her? Possibly, but she's so great as Janie E that I wouldn't want anybody else to be Janie E. Like, there's no one else I wouldn't know.
The roles, and I'm not saying that they couldn't do either one, but I don't know if Laura Dern could deliver the comedy that Naomi Watts does.
There's a certain edge to Laura Dern that makes her so great for Diane. Yeah, like the "fuck you, Tammy's" just come out so naturally, so perfect, and she's just so effortless. And with Naomi Watts, when you think about her work in Mulholland Drive, especially in the dream parts of Mulholland Drive, she makes so much sense in the Janie E role.
Yeah, she really
because she has so much of that energy, but it's that energy of that character when she's just been pushed too far.
Well, and I imagine, though, these roles were written for these actors.
Oh, right? I'm certain of that.
He had those two specifically in mind. I'm sure he did.
I'm 100% sure the majority of this cast, he already knew who he was going to cast for a lot.
There's very good odds on that, yes. And I think those two roles in particular, I'm with you. I think he knew exactly who he was putting in them. But yeah, man, Laura Dern brings it every scene she's in.
Yeah.
Like, she's always electric in any scene that she's in this series. Like, you just always want to see what she's doing. Even if she's just lighting the cigarette, man, like, she's just interesting.
Yeah.
Like,
she smokes so good in this.
I mean, she's just fabulous. She's just fabulous. But when she gets to actually, like, that, when she sees Coop, though, when that door goes up and the camera's just on her and you see his reflection, like, dude, like,
she brings such pain, such trauma, such resentment. Like, she does such resilience. She's just so fascinating to watch the whole time.
And the way that she tells Cooper, the way that she tells Gordon Cole and Albert that's not him. Like, the way she says it, like the body language, the everything, like, it's just, man, like, this is, like I said, if I take episode 8 off the table, this is my favorite episode of this season because of everything that's going on and because of every performance, but hers in particular is, like I said,
I love that she's not just getting a cameo. She becomes a very essential and important part in a very number of episodes.
From here on out, she's with us, man. Like, she's with us from here on, and it's excellent.
And I think we can talk about the fact that, I mean, we don't know it at this point, but we find out that she's not the real Diane, but she has all of I mean, the way I'm understanding is that she has all of Diane's experiences and emotions within her, where, like, I believe this is like, how do I say this? Like, this is how Diane was. Like, she's not Dougie versus Cooper, right?
Yeah.
She's very much like another sliding doors version of Diane. That's how I understand this.
No, she may be a tulpa, but she's absolutely like 99.9% Diane.
That's how I all the memories, all the reactions.
Yeah.
Acting just as if she was her.
That's right.
I totally agree with that. And I think, again, it's interesting because it adds an extra level to her performance, because she is not Diane, but she is.
Yeah.
And it's especially when you get to the episode when that really does come across. She plays that so perfectly. Like there is such a weird edge to her when it finally goes down, and it's perfection.
Yeah.
I really think, I really don't know who's other than Kyle MacLachlan playing so many different amazing performances. They are the top tier of the season in a season that's full of nothing but great performances. Like there is no bad performance in this season. There's not. Everybody's doing exactly what they're supposed to do. You may not like the character, but they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do. Like there is no bad performance.
I think I remember that as the lead up to this was happening in the promotional materials, it was often Lynch, MacLachlan, and Dern in the interviews and I remember a photo spread of them in a convertible. And so you knew she was playing someone important, but they didn't reveal who she was playing. There was a lot of guesses that it was Diane, but it was. But I remember, yes, she is. And I mean, there's the meta. There's the history of Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern and David Lynch together, right?
Yes.
And there's so that when
Laura Dern has her own history with him on such a neat level, as does MacLachlan, but then of course they have it together through Blue Velvet. So,
but I think that helps when they connect. When you see them together, you feel like they have history. As
they do,
Cooper,
But I think a lot of it too is from Blue Velvet. Those two had chemistry, like they really did, really did, and that's so there in this season. Like those moments when they are together, man. But
it'll be interesting when we get to Blue Velvet to have, just recently experienced this collaboration with them, and then now we're going to be seeing them. Yeah, that'll be interesting when we get there.
Very young versions of them as well.
Yes, and it's been a long time since I've seen it, so it'll be interesting to now re-experience it. I think, having watched this.
Yeah. But no, I think, like I said, that scene right there is really the meat and potatoes of this episode in particular. Like it really is. It is, again, all killer, no filler. Mm-hmm. But that sequence when she faces Evil Coop in that prison, like that's what you came for, man.
Well, it's happening. It's happening in South Dakota, but it is so connected to the original series and Firewalk with Me, right? Like these are characters from that. It's answering again. It's giving us some of that stuff that people complained we didn't get in Firewalk with Me about what happens next.
Yep. It really is filling in the spaces that were just open for so long, and now it's all getting filled in. No, I genuinely think that it's Diane ends up being. And what really is great is now we get Cooper. I'm sorry, we get Gordon Cole and Albert. We get more of them, which is always great. And now we have Diane just part of the team now with Tammy, and it's just the four of them. Every time they're off doing shit, it's just the best. Like it really is. Like, and I can't remember, is this the episode where Albert and Cole are outside and he's talking about how this is a Blue Rose case?
Not yet.
We'll get. I get confused because I didn't get to watch this.
But it is. She does tell Tammy to fuck off, which is
great. She does.
Confusion. I didn't know Evil Coop gets out of prison at the end of this episode.
Right, that's interesting too. Strawberry. That's so great.
Yes.
I just have to say, that's one of those Lynch Frost writing things that is one of those things that I think as a Twin Peaks fan you just love, right? Like it's just tell him strawberry and you're immediately it just feels so great, and just so you have so many questions and you're not sure you want all the answers, and you won't get all the answers, but it sets up exactly what's going on. What's happening, you understand why he's getting out. It's great. A great moment that just feels really organic to the story. And again, so much plot, so much is happening, and but it all plays out so well. Like it doesn't feel rushed, it doesn't feel squished in there, it doesn't feel hurried. No, it just
No, it really is like just great. It's really great screenwriting. It really is. It's really great pacing. You've got multiple layers of stories. Some of them continuing from where we were in the previous 2 seasons of Fire Walk with Me. Some of them completely brand new for this 3rd season. But it all feels connected now. Like at this point, this episode and episode 8 is where it really felt like the rubber hit the road. And it just feels like after these 2 episodes, it is just like whoosh, like it is just nonstop. Like we've been getting there. We've been building. But these 2 episodes here, it just, you're like I said, you're either with it or you're not once you get to episode 8, man. If you're not with it at episode 8, just stop. It's all good. It's okay.
Right. Well, the little bit of plot that there is in episode 8 does sort of continue from here, right?
So, it does. And but there is such a huge, like, because episode 8 feels like 2 episodes. Truly. Like it even has the break point where it would technically end with a band. We'll talk about that next time.
Yeah.
But it feels like 2 episodes. And that second episode is just everything for me. Like, because as someone, again, multiple times in the theater watching Fire Walk with Me when I got to see it in high school, multiple viewings on the Laserdisc, on VHS, anytime it was on TV, finding that original screenplay in the early days of the internet and seeing all the missing pieces. There is so much payoff in episode 8 that it just, the rush I felt watching that episode was unlike anything I've ever felt, honestly. Like it was a major moment for me as a Lynch fan. It was everything for me. Like it really was. And so, but this episode, going back and looking at this episode again, like this is such a great episode. And it is just, it's doing so much heavy lifting, but it's doing it so effortlessly. And that's a real tribute to the screenwriting of Lynch and Frost. And it's a real tribute to the cast. It's a tribute to Lynch as a director, that it all just feels so organic and so wonderful and so connected that as disconnected as these cities are that everything's happening in, it all feels connected. It all still feels like Twin Peaks. And I mean, like not the city of Twin Peaks. I mean, the vibe of Twin Peaks. Like, if you're a fan, which we are, you know what I'm talking about. It has that Twin Peaks vibe. It's all there. Again, Las Vegas continues to be my favorite thing in this season, but there are so many great things happening in all facets of where we're at in this very epic season. It really is. It's a very epic season. There's a lot more to the Twin Peaks universe in this season. Buckhorn easily it feels like Twin Peaks. Like it feels like old Twin Peaks. You know what I mean? Like it feels like season 1, season 2 Twin Peaks at times.
It definitely does, especially with the detective and the lady who runs the morgue.
Yes.
She's one of my favorite characters in this season.
She is. And she unfortunately doesn't get a lot to do this episode. But there was the moment, I will just sort of comment on that, because one of the things that really got me in my original watch as a kid or as a teen in watching the original Twin Peaks was the fact that I was often afraid. And there was a moment in this episode that started to bring those chills, like on my back, when the officer is calling and you see what we assume is a woodsman, even though you don't actually get a good look, and they're starting to move towards her. And I started to have that, that sort of chill that I would get in old Twin Peaks episodes.
It has big Bob energy. It really does.
Yeah.
It's not quite Bob coming over the couch, but it's close. It's close.
No, but it's like a subtler, almost more unnerving in a different way, because you're not exactly sure, as opposed to you're sure this monster is coming for you.
And I think a part of it is just like you said, like you don't know what the end game is going to be the first time you watch it, like what is going to happen, and you love this character so much you don't want something to happen to her. But as we all know in this universe, like all bets are off, man. Like it could be anybody. But there's also just the way that it's shot, the composition. The woodsman, we've already seen one before in the jail cell, right down from Matthew Lillard's character, so we know they're out there. We'd seen them briefly in Fire Walk with Me because Jurgen Prochnow plays one in the convenience store. We've seen them, hints of them, but that is like a clear walking in the space, and there's something so unsettling about that because
it really is.
they almost look like a dark ink cartoon put into reality, because their eyes are so white and they're so black and like sickening looking. Like they're just, they're so creepy. But there is something about that scene. I know exactly what you're talking about, Colin. It the first time I saw it, I was just like, oh, that's not good.
Right. Well, you don't know who this character is. You don't know if something's going to happen to her, and it just starts, and then it ends up being nothing. But it just is introducing that dread, introducing that threat.
She's giving all this explanation to Ernie Hudson back at the Pentagon and about the weirdness of this being, and it's how can it be him? He's in his 40s. He would have been 70.
Right. He should be in the 70s by now.
Yeah. And the head isn't there.
The head isn't there, man. Yeah. Like it's creepy. And again, like it's almost that sort of, we've talked about this a little bit, the Twin Peaks very much has that sort of like Lovecraftian, that cosmic horror, and that the Woodsmen are definitely in that camp for me. Like they really are. Because again, like, even if it doesn't do anything, he's just walking down a hallway, but it's just the notion that they could pop up anywhere at any time. The fact that he seems so unbothered by anything, like there's no fear, there's no hesitation. It's just walking right down the hall. And that's creepy. Like because these things are on a different, they're on a different level than us. They're not in our reality, but they're able to pop up in our reality anytime they want, kind of, and anywhere they want. And that's really, really creepy. And the Woodsmen really become like integral parts of this season. They really do. And they're really like, every time you see them, it gets under your skin, man. You don't ever watch the scenes with them and just think, oh, that's cool. No.
It's always unsettling.
What's that, Cody?
It's always unsettling. Like
always.
Especially after what we're going to see next time. Like, but
good reason to feel that way.
Yeah. Well, and then this next episode, with what happens with Cooper, evil Coop, it is. They are never a good sign. Like it's just like anytime you see them, like it can't be good. It's like one of my favorite Simpsons lines when Homer's at a place and then an alarm goes off and he's like, "Is that good? Have you ever known an alarm like that to be a good sign?" Like, are those guys cool? Have you ever seen anyone like that you thought was cool? Like, no, they're not.
I do feel like this episode, because it's coming not quite the halfway point, but it does feel like it's tying in the stuff that we've been building up from so far.
Yes.
It's tying those things to things that are going to be coming down the road. Yes. Of course, first time you see, you don't necessarily know that, but it's also tying in to the other greater world of Twin Peaks, the other series, the movie. So I really just felt, again, like a linchpin kind of a piece as all the stories are starting to converge. Like we're getting a little bit more about Major Briggs to remind us that this is still important. We're getting the connection to the Roadhouse because that's still important. We're getting the stuff from the diary pages because that's still important. Like all of this stuff we're being reminded remains really important. And
7 and 8 kind of feel like you just, I think a good word there, they are a convergence point.
Yeah,
right.
That's right.
Because everything starts to funnel into the main storyline. Like all these things are going on and they are all starting to come together at this point. And then, man, like I said, really from episode 9 on, and 9 is technically the midway point. It just feels like a slingshot at that point, man. Like it is just nonstop. Right. It is truly nonstop. And again, that's why I always tell people, if you can get through episode 8, which I love, if you can get through it though, like that's it, man. That's where the rubber hits the road and you're good to go at that point, man. It's almost, you almost say it's almost smooth sailing at that point. Like you really are in the groove at that point. You're just rolling right with it. But 7 and 8 really are like, they're excellent. Like they're just excellent. They really are.
Right. So I just was sort of reading through the summary to see if there's any parts of this episode that we haven't talked about or other aspects of it that we haven't yet touched on. I feel like we've gotten most of it.
Yeah, I think we've hit most of the highlights. Do you guys want to know a side tangent about Major Briggs?
Of course.
Just something I noticed this weekend with things I was watching. So Blank Check is doing the movies of Amy Heckerling.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And the actor who played Major Briggs is Kirstie Alley's OBGYN in that film. And also the cigarette smoking man from X-Files is the doctor who delivers her baby.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So the X-Files Twin Peaks connection.
There it is. There it is.
Because
it continues to exist.
He was also Scully's dad in the X-Files.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Well, I will say one thing we didn't hit on that we do know from the with Audrey. We know that in the explosion that unfortunately Pete Martell and Andrew Packard did not make it from the explosion.
Yes, yeah.
So we do know that
true.
poor
that
Pete
confirms that
we lost Pete Martell, and that definitely stings because Pete was such a beloved character. So that one hurts.
Well,
and the other thing too is we find out that once a year Annie wakes up from her coma just to say that the good Dale is still trapped in the lodge once a year. And I can't remember if they say what day it is, but I would be willing to bet that it's the day in the diary of Laura Palmer, whatever that date is. That's the day she probably wakes up on every time to say that he's still in the lodge. I feel like that's a time loop thing for her. I really do.
I think part of us knowing that Pete doesn't make it is because of, Jack Nance.
Yeah. Yes, Jack Nance had passed. Yes, I do get that. But it is one of those things where it's like, at least we know. Like we are given the absolute. He and Andrew Packard are both gone. Granted, both actors were gone, so we knew that would probably be the case. But it is at least we do get that closure, and
we also get teased about Audrey because at this point, I remember there was chatter like, when are we going to see Audrey? I mean, obviously,
everybody
Audrey
was
one of the central characters of the original show. She wasn't in the movie. There's this real, I think, eagerness to see Audrey, and so we get a little bit of she's alive. And also I mean, I knew she had filmed scenes for the show, so we knew she was going to be in it,
but we didn't know when. We didn't know
exactly. So there was a little bit of when are we going to see her, right? So and we could talk more about that when we get to that part. But it is great to we're getting that little bit of hint. But you're right. I think there was that little bit was also maybe a bit of a tribute to Jack since he was no longer with us to be able to be a part of this show.
Well, and we will get at the end of this season, we do get one moment which is a beautiful tribute to Jack, where we do see Pete get to go fishing that fateful morning.
Yes.
And that was one of those things when I first saw it, like I legit teared up. I was just like, oh man, like this is what could have been. And it was a beautiful, again, David Lynch genuinely loved that man. And it's nice to know, again, we do get the full disclosure that he did, not make it from the explosion, but we also get that wonderful little tribute to him at the end of the run as well. So we'll talk about that, of course, when we get there, because that has significant reason that it happens. But it is nice. I think that's one of the things I do love about The Return is it really does feel like David Lynch, knowing that, we're not getting any younger, being able to give a lot of final wonderful moments to wonderful actors and actresses who were wonderful characters in this universe. He gives them some really great, beautiful moments to go out on. And that's one of the things I love the most about this season is all of those wonderful moments, like that we get from the original crew. And we'll have so many great ones as Colin and I've said many a times. One of our single favorite, like plot wrap up things ever happens at the end of this season with our good friends Big Ed and Norma. One of my single favorite things ever. Like it's just perfect. But until we get there, of course, there's still a lot going on. But I will say that this is a great episode of television. It's a great episode, not just of Twin Peaks, just a great episode of television. And it really, like I said, man, this is where it's all starting to really coalesce. Like it's all coming back to me now, man. It's all here.
Well, on a tangent, Twin Peaks related, not necessarily related to this at all, but I remember mentioning on our podcast when I saw Joan Chen in her film last year, Dido, I think it was called. She's in a new movie this year. It just came out. It's really good. A remake of Ang Lee's The Wedding Banquet. She's great in it. Good in it. Yeah,
that's
good.
Awesome.
And she's got a really substantial part. She was so good in the other film last year too. Like, it's just so great to see her working and being like, because she is such an incredible actress. She still looks amazing.
She's stunning.
And it was great to see her. She's really great in this movie. So just throw that out there for
I
Twin
love
Peaks
seeing
fans.
her be successful. Like Joan Chen really, she brought so much to Twin Peaks in the time that she was there. Josie's such a memorable character. As a teenager watching it, I sure liked looking at her. I mean, like when she shows up with Harry with that black lingerie, I was like, "Well, buddy, hey."
Yeah, it's
Harry, you're my guy.
It's great to see her. So I thought I'd mention it because it was great to see her again and to see her working and doing great work. So so I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I'm so glad to see her just continue to be out there because, like you said, she is a really good actress, and a lot of people looked at Josie. I think sometimes that she gets kind of looked at as a thankless character, but Josie does so much into the season, and she's so good in that role.
It's such a great performance because you really see the way she's acting and code switching depending on who she's performing in front of, right? Like Joan Chen is doing a lot there. She's doing a lot of heavy lifting.
She's doing a lot. She's she's juggling a lot of things with that character, and that's what really makes her. She has to come across as vulnerable, but she's also stone cold when she needs to be, and she's a very smart woman. She is smarter than she lets on.
She's a survivor.
She's a survivor. Yeah. She's a good person, but she's got history. Like,
she's done some bad things.
Yeah. So she's a very interesting character. And I think Joan Chen, every time I go back and rewatch Twin Peaks, like Josie continues to be one of those characters that just grows on me more and more of how much I really like when she's in a scene. Like she's really, really great to watch. She's fabulous. She really is. Makes me very happy to hear that she's in a new movie. That really does.
Yeah.
Anytime I see folks from the David Lynch world showing up in other stuff, it makes me happy because, like I said, for so long, it's just felt like there's not many of us David Lynch fans who like appreciate all the things he does and all the wonderful people that are in his films. So whenever you see them in something else, you're just like glad to see other people will probably see this. They didn't see this Lynch piece, but they'll probably see them in this, and they'll see what a good actor or actress they are. So it's one of those neat things. But I really love how with this season it was like anybody and everybody that Lynch wanted is in this season.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Ernie
He's
Hudson,
still alive. Yeah,
really there,
exactly.
there. You know what I mean? Like it's
there's
some. I mean, like when I first heard James Belushi, I was like, the hell is James Belushi going to be?
Tim Roth. There's going to be a lot of great.
Like one of my favorite things in this. So
yeah, exactly. So I know we've talked about it a lot, but we've got a big episode coming up here. So when are we going to talk about that?
Let's look here. So episode 8. How does
Got a light?
Yeah,
got a light.
How does June 1st work?
Should work for me.
I should think that would be okay.
That's going to be a really fun discussion. There's going to be so much to talk about.
We'll shoot for that. One thing I guess we don't know what happens, and I guess maybe correct me if I'm wrong, if it pops up later in the show. We don't know whatever happened to Catherine, right?
I don't think we do.
Doesn't one of Frost's books that came out in tandem?
No, yes, the books
that she closed things down and sold it off to Ben and moved away or something after death. I think it says something along those lines. Yeah.
Which I don't know what her. I know she wasn't in the best of health a few years before she passed, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Because, man, that's one character I would have been so happy to see pop up in this. Because Catherine Martell is a beast. Like, she is. I mean, there's the single best things of that original season, man. Like,
there's quite a few who, unfortunately, like we were lucky that we got Miguel Ferrer and Catherine Coulson before they passed, but we were unfortunate that there were so many, whether it's Jack Nance or Piper Laurie, the people who couldn't be a part of this project. That
I'm still grateful that Catherine Coulson got to be the log lady one last time, and we'll talk about her final moment is. I mean, if you have a soul, man, you can't have dry eyes when that sequence is done. You can't.
Especially when you know the connection those two,
yes.
like she and David Lynch had in their real life and their professional and personal lives, and
that she really was at death's door,
yes,
recording this. Like it's so powerful, and it really goes to show how much Catherine Coulson wanted to finish this character arc, and it really goes to show that Lynch and Frost were so like. They were very respectful of the time and of the character, and they gave her just enough to be part of the season, and again, an integral part of the season. But the genuine respect that is shown towards her, not just her character, but to the actress, it's one of the most beautiful things. People forget how beautiful Lynch can be as a storyteller and how beautiful his stories can be. Look at The Straight Story, look at The Elephant Man. There is so much heart and so much emotion in those films. And the work he does with Catherine in this is it's beautiful. Like it really is. It's I'll get teared up if I start talking about too much, but it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that she got to be a part of this and especially, her and Miguel Ferrer as well. Before and Harry Dean Stanton, before they passed, and Harry Dean Stanton, when we get to see Carl again, Carl Rod he's got to be one of your favorite characters.
And Warren
if
Frost,
he's not, you're wrong.
There's so many. This was like their last thing, and then since the 8 years that's come out, there's so many other actors we've lost since then.
Well, and of course we lost Lynch. I mean, like it's crazy to think that's that definitely is such a sting, because there were rumblings of a season 4, but of course that's now gone. Like there's no way on earth it would ever happen.
No.
And I wouldn't want it to at this point. Without Lynch, it's not worth doing, period. Just full stop. It's not. But there are so many great moments still to come. So many great moments still to come.
Yeah.
Like great moments of things that will make you laugh, things that will make you cry, things that will make you happy, things that will make you, scared.
Head hurt.
Things that will make your head hurt. Like it's all over. It's pure Lynch. It really is. It's pure Lynch. But this is one of those things that the more and more I watch The Return, the more and more grateful I am that we got it. Like it is truly, the first time I watched it, I was like, this is really cool and it's really crazy. And it was like, when it was over, I was like, I really don't know how I feel about it. Like there were things I really liked and there were things I wasn't sure about, but every time I go back and rewatch it, it just gets better and better and better. And
now we know
it's great.
It's the definitive final work too.
Yeah.
And it really does feel like it once we get to the end, it's going to feel like not just for the show, but for just his whole body of work.
Well, now you're also forgetting What Did Jack Do? I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
I do love me some What Did Jack Do, and I would be happy to spend a little time talking about that.
I think we should include that as the very last thing we talk about before we wrap up.
It should absolutely be there. I love What Did Jack Do, and I've watched it more times than I care to admit. It's fabulous. It's so good.
It's still on Netflix, right? Netflix.
It is. It is.
Okay,
it was one of those things during the pandemic. It was one of the few things that brought me any real joy at that time was seeing this wonderfully madcap David Lynch piece with a talking monkey. Who also sings. Let's not forget that part. And his love is a chicken named Tituba. So
I might.
It's so weird.
I was thinking I might try to watch episode 8 a couple of times before June 1st, because I think there's going to be a lot to process again. And it's been a while since I've watched it. It is one of the episodes that I've watched more times than the others, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to take a couple. So I'm gonna get to watching it a couple of times here to try to start wrapping my head around some things and start thinking about some things.
There's a lot to take in. I will say it's Tutubon is the name of the chicken that Jack loves. And What Did Jack Do?
On that note, I guess we should call it a night. Thank you guys again.
Oh, thank you guys. I'm sorry it's been so long, but it's so great to see everybody again.
Yeah, no, it has been great.
It was so great to meet you in person. It really was. I'm so glad we get to hang out at a diner and drink coffee and and have delicious food. It was really, really cool. And you got to go to the Cat Cafe.
I'm glad we got to meet. I'm glad you got to show us a little bit of Charleston. Looks like a really nice and cool city. And Jessica's going to be always grateful for showing her the Cat Cafe.
Dude, Mr. Thumbs, you got to meet the coolest ambassador of the city of Charleston, man. He's great. Everybody loves Mr. Thumbs. He's got his own drinks. I'm just saying. He's got his own drinks. But no, the Cat Cafe, Colin, one of my dear friends just opened one up here in Charleston, and it's fabulous. It's so cute and so fun. But there is a particular cat. He's missing his ears, and he has an extra thumb on one of his paws, and so he's known as Mr. Thumbs. And and he is like the ambassador of the Cat Cafe. Right. Everybody loves Mr. Thumbs, and Cody and his wife actually got to like hold him and get pictures with him. So it was like they got to meet royalty, as far as I'm concerned. They got to meet royalty.
Very nice. Very nice.
But it was a genuine pleasure to get to meet you in person. And Colin, if we can figure out a way to get up to Toronto or Montreal, either one, that would be super freaking cool.
That would be amazing.
Love to be able to do it there and let you be our tour guide and take us to all the cool shit. So
all right, sounds great. Okay, guys, well, it was great, and like I said, I look forward to the next discussion we're going to have. It's going to be mind blowing.
Been waiting for it. All good. Good night, guys.
Night.
Good night.